Hey, what's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today, I'll be talking about Zomedica. Now, Zomedica is one of the stocks that we talk about on this channel. It's a speculative bet on my part. As a reminder, anything I talk about here is not financial advice. If you choose to do something with Zomedica, sort of do it at your own caution, do your own due diligence. And as such, I've changed the theming of the lights behind me to represent that we're talking about Zomedica today. Now, I won't go through the entire history of Zomedica and what we've talked about in the past, but as a reminder, Zomedica has multiple different pillars in their organization. We have truforma, their diagnostic tool. They have PulseVet for their, I forget the term, it's like horses or equestrians, I think. We have Vet Guardian, more diagnostics, TruView, which is the slide preparation, Revo, and Assisi Animal Health. These are all different pillars of their business. Right now, PulseVet is making the lion's share of their revenue. But that will not always be the case. And one of the amazing things that Zomedica has been doing is they are using the capital that they have put together during the bull run, during the bull market, where tons of investors were hyper bullish on Zomedica, and they've packaged that away, diluted the shares, unfortunately at the expense of said stakeholders, but that raised them a ton of capital, and they've used this capital to buy those 5 other businesses that I've mentioned. Now, if you've been in Zomedica for a long time, we're just going to go back down memory lane. And let's go back all the way to sort of the highs. I'm just going to sort of zoom out here, and we can probably see it. This is back in 2018. So right here. Okay. So back in November of 2020, I make sure you can see that. You can see here they weren't doing so well, right? They had the sort of COVID. There was a ton of COVID stock rallying, but Zomedica was not one of those stocks. In fact, they were very close to doing a share offering at that point in time. They had a vote. People voted against it. And then they sort of talked a bit about truforma, which is this diagnostic device. You sort of use plug and play cartridges, and it sent the stock skyrocketing. I remember it was one of the most talked about stocks for those few months. From November, it went from 5 cents all the way up to 2.86 in February, which is like, I don't know, like a 40 to 50, like a 50 to 60x on the share price. Absolutely phenomenal. Obviously, it was not sustained. Zomedica sort of announced around here in March that they would not, or they did an early launch, and that they only sold 1 unit. And that caused a lot of the gas or the air to come out, and it just started rocketing downwards. Tons of influencers, really bad stock peddlers like Chris Zane were telling people not to sell. I remember the day this happened, the day they sort of announced all of this. I got on the phone, told my friends, hey, I'm selling. I made a video that night telling people, hey, I'm selling out of Zomedica. I'll buy back in when it comes down. I started buying it below $1. But I made a ton of money on Zomedica back then. And many people did not like that, right? One of the things that I noticed is whenever you talk about a stock, if you ever say anything negative about it at any point in time, people say you're fudding your bags, that you're sort of like kind of not believing and whatever. But the reality is, it does no good for me to lie to you guys and tell you, hey, this stock's great, when, every indication right then was that it was bad. Truforma launch was terrible. They had a massive exodus of investors, but that doesn't mean that it was always going to be bad. And I'm going to talk a bit today about what has changed. Hey, Grady, how's it going? Hey, Michael Miller, long-term holder. Well, hopefully this is a very helpful, insightful video for you. As a quick reminder before I go any further, you see above me, or this way actually, my YouTube and my Instagram and my Twitter handles. If you haven't already, make sure you give me a follow me on all the tech. Subscribe on YouTube, like the video if you're seeing it either now or later. And let's talk a bit more about Zomedica. So Zomedica sort of went down all the way, right? So from about $3, we saw it come down all the way. It rocketed it stuck around the $1 mark for a bit, up, down. And then in June of 21, it just completely got destroyed. From June of 21 all the way to December of 21, we went all the way down to like 29 cents, right? That went down another 70%. Then from there, we had a slight rally, right? And every time we had a rally, we made a video on the channel. We talked about taking profits, right? Because one of the things I tell you guys is, and by the way, remember, I don't tell you guys specifically what to do, but I'm saying that I will buy swing shares and I will sell those swing shares, and that's me taking profit, right? I know a lot of people who would buy shares at low prices, refuse to sell on the pump, and then when it went down further, they would sell out more, which really made no sense to me. So we sort of had this sideways action ever since. Every so often go back to 40 cents, 35 cents, coming back down. The bottom range of Zomedica so far has been 15 cents back in December or 6 months ago. And we haven't really seen it return to those low levels. In fact, we've seen it wobble around the 20-cent range. And the 20-cent range is very important because on the North American Stock Exchange, the NYSE American, their delisting criteria is the 20-cent barrier. So if a stock closes for 30 consecutive days below 20 cents, they have 6 months to get back into compliance, which is, I think, 10 consecutive days of closing above 20 cents. Then they get an extension and then potentially delisting. And when delisting happens, there's a reverse stock split. Reverse stock splits are no good. Now, we have not sort of triggered any of this. So this is fantastic news because, Zomedica, I think long-term is positioned very well. You can see here that the EMA is just straight down, right? We want to stop seeing this. We want to start seeing this sort of flatlining, moving up slightly. Obviously, the average stock price is not broken that. We'll have to break through that barrier. Now, one of the questions and sort of the reason you're watching this video is, well, when is Zomedica going to recover? Now, the way you have to look at this is Zomedica cares about a couple things. First and foremost, it cares about the risk-on environment that's going on. So right now, we're starting to see the bull market sort of take place in crypto. This is a great sign because at the same time, we'll see like small caps and all that stuff start to go up as well. Small caps are really the risk-on kind of stocks, right? No one's taking any risk by buying Apple or Microsoft, right? Like depending on who you talk about, Tesla, right? Those stocks are like slam dunk obvious stocks. Once those have appreciated enough, and for example, Apple has made an all-time high recently, then the next is the mid caps. Once those mid caps sort of break out, then what's the next opportunity? Well, tons of these penny stocks that have not recovered, right? Nano Dimension, Zomedica, Bionanogenomics. You can think of tons of them. And regardless of whether they're good or not, they're all going to see a sort of huge jump. Now, Zomedica, what we care about is sort of a sustained jump, right? So once we've sort of created this environment where we have a sort of bullish in nature or risk-on environment, right? And then the next step is how's the company doing? Now, you guys know, I reported on this so many times, right? Like Zomedica is doing fantastic. They've had record quarter 2023 financial results. They were up 45% to $5.5 million. This is fantastic because this is exactly the trajectory you want to see, right? Reduce expenses, increase revenues, increase profitability. That profitability is what's going to bring investors because they want to get in on the ground floor. And right now, one of the things that people used to talk about when Zomedica was $250 was, man, I'm so jealous of people who have cost basis of 15 cents a share, 5 cents a share, 20 cents a share. Still not out of the realm of possibility. It's a speculative company because there's still a chance things can go wrong. But right now, from what I'm seeing, more things are going right than wrong. So this is why I continue to expand my position in Zomedica. I'm actually looking, and this is going to sound very weird, I'm hoping that Zomedica comes below 19 cents, because that's my buy zone. This is where I will buy even more shares as we go from 19 cents to 15 cents, hopefully to sort of bounce up and sort of hit this tag. If not, either way, I have some swing shares to sell at this zone between 23 and 28 cents. And then I have my long-term shares where I'll look to sell around like 50s, where is it? 65 cents, 73 cents, and 91 cents. And I'm going to hold a moon bag to take me to like multiple dollars. Let's see here. DJ DNA says, just sitting back and watching Zomedica doing its thing. And if it still goes down, I'll try to buy more. That's exactly the sort of mindset, right? You want to reach 50,000 shares holding 37,777 shares. Yeah. Honestly, one of the things that's like beautiful about this timing is this is the time for opportunity, right? One of the things you'll have to realize, and this is not for Zomedica, but everything in general, when things are going down, it's in human nature to sort of want to sell. When things are going up, you want to buy. But it's fighting that instinct and it's actually doing the opposite. If you believe in something when it's $5, when it's 5 cents and nothing has changed fundamentally about the company, now's the time to buy. $5 was actually the time to sell. And that's sort of how I view things. And those who are successful in the market will buy when there's blood in the streets, and they will sell when everyone is super euphoric. When we get to a point where everyone and their mom is asking about Zomedica, right? So like back when GameStop was happening, people who knew nothing about stocks were asking me about GameStop and AMC. And what did that tell me? Well, that was the time to sell. And it did basically mark the top, because all of a sudden the media is saying, oh my God, you got to buy this. The media doesn't want you to do well. The media wants you to lose money to the institutions who fund them. That's just the reality of it. And Zomedica has got some fantastic potential. Like I said, not financial advice. And you know what? Let me put on that little ticker here, right? Don't forget to like, subscribe. Nothing in this video is financial advice. Do your own research and your due diligence, right? Not financial advice. Very, very important. But if you're here to sort of understand what I'm doing is I have a bag of Zomedica shares that I'm holding for the long term. And then I have my swing shares that I'm selling at every sort of level. Now, where do I see and how long do I think this is going to take? It really depends on everything else. So, number one, let's look at the US inflation rate. I think it's next week we find out, where is it? July 12th, we will find out what our June inflation was. Now, obviously, when we're looking at CPI, what we started to see is it's not like we're doing way better than they had made it seem, right? They used to say inflation is transitory. And now they're still saying kind of it's like transitory, just a long period transitory. And what we're seeing is the inflation is sort of being under control. There are fewer rate hikes. I think there's 2 left, 25 basis points each. Once that's done, hopefully that'll be the end of it, done and dusted. And then there'll be a lot more people who are willing to get into the market. But as you can see here, the rate of inflation growth is continuing to come down, right? So this is exactly what you want to see, right? We've sort of like hit that, like that trend is trending downwards now. Once we sort of get that to flatline, come down, and like there's no more growth, then guess what? We're going to start to see risk on environment. We're going to start to see people say, hey, I want to make my money, make money, start investing more into stocks and crypto and other asset types, and then a rising tide that lifts all boats. And there's a ton of junk stocks that people will invest in, but the difference between the junk stocks and Zomedica is actually doing all the right things, just like Nano Dimensions, just like Mara, and they are primed to be a big company in the future. I've heard a lot of people call this the Tesla of pet healthcare. We'll really see how that turns out. I can't sort of definitively tell you one way or another in the next few months that this will sort of change, but I do expect long-term for Zomedica to go up. If I didn't believe that, I would sell all my Zomedica right now, and I would shift that money into cryptocurrency-related instruments or Nano Dimensions. And I'm not doing that. Why? Because I believe in Zomedica. So one of the things you may be wondering as well, what could you do? A couple things. You could stay pat, right? If you stay pat, hold your shares, That's great for the long term. You can do what DJ does, or you could do sort of what Michael Miller is doing, and many other people who will be watching this video later. But the other thing you could do is if it dips to a certain point, and I think this is what DJ said, you could purchase more shares and just add to your stack, have that long-term conviction, and wait for when Zomedica actually will pay off in the massive dividends that we expect it to. Anyways, this was I don't want to say it's a long video, 17 minutes, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. As a reminder, we have our own public Discord. If you want to check it out, go to Spades Investing at discord.thebrownjet.com. We talk about all things stock market, shares, updates, earnings. So if you want to talk about BBIG, Zomedica, Nano Dimensions, if you want to bring up topics you want to hear on a live stream, or if you want a live stream dedicated to a specific stock, just let me know. I'm happy to do it when I have time. We also talked about crypto, and we also talk about Forex and other types of leverage styles of trading. So that's all that I have for this video. Super bullish on Zomedica. Like I said, I don't have a sort of short-term period thing to tell you, hey, it's going to skyrocket. But I do expect over the next year to 2 years that if Zomedica and their CEO and their organization does all the right things like they're doing right now, right? Acquiring those good companies, reducing their expenses, right? Reducing their OPEX, increasing their revenues, getting profitability, right? Building out each of these pillars in truforma, PulseVet, VetGuardian, TrueView, Revo, Assisi. This is what's going to really grow their organization. And I'm super pumped and super excited for when that happens. Anyways, I just want to thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.